Okay, ma'am. I'm ready, ma'am, whenever you're ready.
Yes, sir. Just another 2 minutes, sir. Then we will start, sir. Participants are joining. Sir, shall we start now?
Yes, ma'am.
By the same time, they will be joining. Yeah. A very good afternoon, everyone. And today we are starting with our sixth session, that is on managing change. In the previous session, sir was discussing about how the change is very important for every individual. So now we are having the same topic, that is on managing change, by Mr. MohanKumar. And MohanKumar is working as a practice head for Wipro Limited. His area of expertise is in digital technologies and deeply engaged with competency development and enabling hyperscale cloud practices, and a campus ambassador, and holds pre-placement talks and interview panel. He holds electrical engineering degree and MBA in HR. He has been elected as a fellow of Institute of Engineers, India. He has 32 years of IT experience and has been associated with Wipro Limited for over 14 years. He has relocated to Bangalore after staying in Australia for over 15 years. Mr. Mohan is currently involved in community projects in the area of youth leadership and provides mentorship to students pursuing engineering, business and management, and other courses. Conducts FDP sessions and many interventions for faculties. He takes interest in the initiatives of Rotary International and deeply involves in RILA, occasional and environmental initiatives. He is a certified cricket umpire and has been involved in volunteering in global sports events. Mr. Mohan is a part of the Board of Studies and is also a member of Industry Academia Advisory Committees for several colleges and universities, and contributes to National Assessment and Accreditation Council and National Board of Accreditation Assessments representing the industry. So with this brief introduction, I present Mr. MohanKumar, sir. Sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rashmi. Audible, right? My voice is...
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is clear.
Thank you. Thank you again for the ATAL FDP team and BEC Bagalkot. It's great to be associated as part of a board of studies. And thank you for the opportunity again to be part of this FDP. Wonderful participants all over the country. I'm sure a few international also have joined. And very good afternoon to everybody. I think this situation is almost, I would say on a positive side, is getting over. Still, we would say it's an abnormal situation for us, still on a safety aspects, right? With vaccination, the vaccine economy has kick-started. Yes, please. Yeah. So stop saying back to normal is what we have to talk about. I mean, the thing is, I think there's going to be a new normal. I think everybody would have heard this term, new normal, and we want the past back. We not about forgetting about the past. It's not forgetting about anything, but lessons learned, and we want the future sooner. And thanks to all the biological, the vaccine, just to be staying alive is a big bonus for us. It was a very scary, 12 months back. We are all been very lockdown situation with vaccine coming, but with all good hope, the future has been there for us. And some of the things I will start. I know it's a 2-hour session, but I will start from the industry perspective. So where we are, ma'am, is the slides visible? It's moving, right? Just to ensure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It is moving.
So just to give a global risk perspective, and what used to be last few years back, and now what we see. Of course, the infectious disease has taken a topmost priority, and how governments and citizens and community are mitigating the risk. Of course, you see climate has always been there. Unfortunate in Chennai and other East Coast, you see things are not happening. You will see all sorts of things. People will have this climatic, and governments are also fighting to ensure that we have sustainability. And of course, biodiversity and livelihood crisis, these sort of things will happening as long as we are all aware that risks is always there, and how we mitigate is what is important. And that really requires a little bit of change management is what the precursor to it. And just I think we are all seen this last 18 months, the business in the infected world, how it has created an impact on cash flow, revenue. And if you are an MBA finance student or faculty, I'm sure there will be plenty of case studies talking about each company's profit and loss, and how merger and acquisitions happen. And from HR perspective, how remote working, right? Today, a hybrid model has been come into effect. And in fact, I am in Pune now. I'm talking to you virtually. Otherwise, my Bangalore city is my hometown. But I did visit my own office in Pune. So it's you can see that it's virtual connect, how it has enabled us, right? And keep the business continuity, and then the sales to some extent. The leisure travel is back. Hopefully, we will see business travel as well. In fact, we are having our own customer visit tomorrow while I'm not here there in Bangalore, but somebody is coordinating. It's good to see that things are on the positive side. The supply chain has gone through its own adjusting the inventories. What's supposed to be, big cars were manufacturing vehicles. Now they stopped for a minute, and then they did ventilators, and the Gap and brand clothing, they stopped making that and made the PPE and protective clothing. So things changed, in the industries, and how quickly people adopted. And we will see some use cases. And insurances, India just before the pandemic had only 2.8% insurance population of almost 1.6, 1.4 billion, right? But today, maybe the few other 2% more increase. So the importance of insurance we are looking at now, and everybody is working hard. The CEO, Chief Executive Officer, CXO community is looking at how do we manage the liquidity, and this is where how businesses are, responding. They're reassessing, responding, and recalibrating in terms of everything. To some extent, I don't know whether I could say blessing in disguise, because they have to have this course correction should happen, because we have been doing things for last 40, 50 years, or prior to that, maybe 100 years. There's times will come that we have to change the course of action, and that has really set the platform. So where we are doing, how we are in agile mode now, because otherwise productivity, competition, and the growth of the company has to be really looked into it, because next again people have to plan for next 10, 20 years horizon, and how the change businesses environment has changed, and with technology. So I will be covering a lot of things. I'm just giving a precursor, and just again look at some of the changes happen. In fact, today I was having a meeting with my own immigration team. The reason is since last 18 months, people have mobility has been constrained. I think we all understand because of vaccine, and we call now vaccine passports, right? So on everybody's safety, they were technically lock the borders. So how do we now look inwards is what we have to change our own talent capability or talent pool, right? And digital transformation is another major, I would say, change catalyst or change transformation. What's supposed to have done, next 2 to 3 years, we already crunched. And my worry is we might even finish all the digital transformation in maybe next 3 years, and do what? Is another question I have. I'm sure everybody will have. And of course, with India on an IT sector, at least I would say IT global players must be having about 25 billion in cash alone, right? At the top, TCS, Infosys, Wipro. and few other companies. And then how we looking? We have changed a lot of cost models. We are empathy with customers, which they were not, helpless, and we have to be empathetic because they've been with us for last 20 years, 25 years. Overnight, we cannot change, contracts, but we have to look at win-win situation. And we have built analytics capability. We have looked at supply chain. So the entire course correction change is in every aspect, right? And building agility is very important because if you ask our customers, we have 1,200 customers, more than 10,000 projects, programs run, and everything wanted yesterday. So that sort of agility people are looking at, and how do we respond through speed planning? I mean, there will be blips. This will continue. It's Brexit, trade wars, civil unrest, could be oil. See, latest you saw the fires in Taiwanese factory or supply chain hit in America. I mean, they don't even know what to make now. They run out of toilet papers and other stuff, right? So the other issue, so many things. I mean, even simple as Suez Canal, ships were blocked and locked, and that disrupted the whole thing. So this, how do we prepare for this? How do we continuously change is the one we have to bring, and and there will be a lot of questions. And so I'm just giving you another aspect how companies have responded. And one of the other aspect is our own Prime Minister is talking about adaptability and inclusivity opportunity, right? Make in India, skill India, and how do we be self-sustainable? And we see global giants like Microsoft, how they're talking about digital transformation. So all this, why I'm giving this is all this amounts to element of change, right? Whether it's people, process, technology, and we will look into some of the aspects of automation and other stuff. Okay, and this is again the education sector itself have gone through tremendous change. We are still not there. Most of the universities even giving online degrees now, and I'm glad we are all connected to the virtual world online. And then you will see the video and collaboration tools. What is more important is the empathy, right? India has got 646 universities, 14 lakhs postgraduate students. I think you all are aware, you are the faculty, right? But what is empathetic is how do we bring back the people who lost out on education? At least last 2 to 3 years, people have been derailed. So this is something we need to look for the next. And the way we work, we have changed the industrial revolution to digital and hybrid, right? Biggest experiment. I had to ship almost 15 to 20,000 devices. It could be modems and desktops, laptops, and that really it's a big testing time for all the industry, at least in IT scenario we're looking at. So how do we look at when we say when we work, where we work, how we work, all this timeline, the shift in things have changed. How can we now look at offering safer and also a little bit of flexible conditions for both and both, even for customers as well. It's for win-win to everybody. And just a very quick outlook, industries, by far health and life sciences. And then you have IT. I've been in the industry 33 years. I think IT, I would say this will continue because this is already enabled. Likewise, other sectors, education has played a bigger role in this last 18 months. Government projects have really kicked off. Telecom with 5G coming, wellness, banking, MSME. So there's a lot of good things. And when we talk to customers, we also talk to students, right, who are freshers, who are going to go. We tell them these are the opportunity avenues. At least the runway next 5 to 10 years will be there when they pick up in these sort of sectors. Of course, there are other sectors also. Uh, you will see some traction very soon in few quarters. So all this is fine. Just to set the scene, this is a bit of elevated speech or lines it's talk about. It's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. So very ironic. It's been written many years back, right? Charles Darwin. And we have seen that the people who respond and adapt to change will the one who. And of late, recently, this is even before the pandemic, Bill Gates wrote about change. Change takes time, but suddenly everything is everywhere and nothing is the same ever again. And that really holds good today. Um, those statements, right, the visionaries make. So the whole idea of the change is to focus all our energy, enthusiasm, excitement should be not on fighting the world. And this is exactly we'll talk to our students as well. There are certain things could be through internships, through industry experience, through the case studies, the type of pedagogy we do. We have to start looking at how do we look at bring that energy and embracing the new. This is the fundamental core things for change management. Of course, there's a lot of things have happened. We are now looking at not only best practices, we also call next set of practices, right? We have gone beyond best practices. Now we are looking at how at, like I said, people, process, technology, operations, and businesses. Ma'am, so far so good. Is the pace good, ma'am? Just I want to.
Yes, sir.
I,
Yes.
I will get into interaction mode. I just thought a little bit on elevated. So there will be a lot of case studies and what not to do. I'm sure all our MBA syllabuses and BBA colleges will have it inbuilt into our examination in terms of how do we look at the entire. It was a good case study, the whole COVID, and we cannot solve problems with the same thinking we used when we created. All these people, visionaries have given these statements. And the most important is about staying relevant tomorrow. It's not even today. Okay. So again, Peter Drucker, modern management guru, he talks about if you want something new, you have to do something, stop doing something old. That's the. Okay, so this is, I thought I'll spend few minutes on that. Now let's look into what managing change means, what it means. So anybody, I can interact, ma'am. Is that okay? Can someone talk about what is change? Can they put it in?
Yeah, participants can unmute.
Disturbance. Sir, I would like to tell regarding change.
Yes,
Hello,
sir.
I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
It
Yes,
is a
sir. Please go
disturbance
ahead.
in existing. It is disturbance in existing equilibrium. That is a change.
Okay, very good, fantastic. That is exactly what we are seeing today. In terms of it has disturbed entire equilibrium. Like you are absolutely right, sir. Anybody else? Any other your viewpoints?
Change is
It
the
could
only
be.
constant thing, sir.
Yes, sir. I agree. Completely agree. Change is the only constant thing. Yeah. Yes. I could hear some at least after lunch just to. I'm just interacting with you so that we will get our thought process because I'm also here to learn from others as well. You would have seen change aspects from many sides. It is not just being from the faculty, or it could be anything. It could be you have seen so much changes around. Even your lifetime, some of we have gone through those process, personal and professional. Okay, so the interest of time is absolutely, you're right. You've given the initial thing. It's about to make or become different, right? Or to begin to have a different form. It's about dissatisfaction with something, new belief we want to bring, and something which it could be anything. It could be a process. If you go to an organization, it could be a supply chain process, or it could be hire to retire end to end, order to cash, or it could be any processes which had not given any in terms of profit or customer satisfaction, or it could be feedback. So we are now looking at what is that we can do better, right? That's why some companies invest so much time to bring these changes for the betterment, right? And then I'm just giving you quote again to start with. The ability to successfully manage change has become one of the most important skills for personal happiness, the prosperity, and the health of the planet. Before this session, I was just doing a Google, okay, Amazon. If you go and do, there are about 29,000 books written on change. right? It could be anything, spiritual change, it could be financial. You just put it could be from business strategy, management perspective. But finally, it all comes down to how do we look at individuals, how do we look at teams, cross-functional teams, and how we look at organization as a whole thing, and how do we bring the change management. And the speed of change is what Daryl Corner is all about. Then how do we experience those who cannot change their minds, cannot change on a personal thing? This is again, and Google's much earlier, they had this vision statement. See, this is why we have to follow. Sometimes, we give these case studies to students. Look at how successful companies, right? It could be not only IT, we could see anything, even governments. Some of the governments have done. Look at their vision and mission, how Google has been talking about world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. I mean, today, even to go to another city, within a city, we need Google Maps. Who have thought without that, it's very difficult, right? So this is some of the quotes. I thought I will keep it before we do the main stuff. And there is a question always comes, what is change? What is transition? So change is what happens to, it is external. Actually, sometimes it could be stressful. It is about emotions. And I will talk about how we, in terms of large organization. And personally, I've been involved with the help of McKinsey's and how we did a large change management, change transformation, which I learned. I never thought that, after 25 years, I will get an opportunity to embark on a change transformation. So I was very lucky. Sometimes you have to be lucky to be right place, right time. So I got the opportunity how we manage change, lead inwards and outwards. I'll talk about it. And the transition is about internal, right? It's about identity. So just to give a perspective on both the change versus transition. So I'm not going to bore you all. This is all about textbook. It's about behavioral. It's about structures. It's about, so this is what we teach our kids, right? We teach our students. It's about modifying existing structures that have gone wrong. So this is a standard definition, a textbook. And so there are three types of organization change: development, transitional. Of course, there are many variants, which I will also cover. Anything which improves, optimizes on an established process is what we are looking at. Transitional is when somebody, for example, I have actually given a case study in another college for Air India and Tata's, Tata acquisition of Air India. It's amazing stuff. That itself is a transition. And they say they've given the date 2023 January, that we will be in one entity, right? And so bold statement. That means they have worked very hard to bring that entire change management to have that acquisition successful rolled out. And the transformation, and to some element, I will also give a little bit. There's actually another session which I'm taking on effective habits, how it changes the culture. To some extent, even transformation change takes place through culture and other stuff as well. So what are the drivers of change? Typically, if you see from the organization point, what are the main objective or main top three things we have taken? Uh, so it's about reducing cost. And today's world, yes, there are some cash crunch companies. They're looking at the scenarios, right? There are several examples, especially in travel and hospitality, where they're not seeing the traction of business travel yet, right? Then you have seen that real estate, there are other industries, they're looking at this sort of, the few drivers for change. And then turn around from a crisis. How do we pull, right? Catching up to competitors. So these are all some of the highlights of, parameters. So Bill Gates has given another thing. We always overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years and underestimate. See what he's talking about, wonderful statement. We always look at short term, any change management. Yes, can we get it done? Get it done for 18 months and done with it? No. What he's suggesting is look beyond 2 years, look at 10 years, where we are, this change is going to have an effect or an impact or well thought through is what he's talking about. Okay. And then now coming to from change to now change management, right? We are now looking at what are the things, why, what is the need for change management, right? It's all about business transformation. It's about excellent change management. They have six times likelihood of meeting objectives. If you do a proper change, transformation and change, you will get the benefits. And Gartners of the world who are advisories, they have taken a lot of things. Even when we put a lot of consulting proposals, we give a hard pitching story, right? That we have proved that we have done elsewhere and how the change. So this is a performance curve. Some of the things you keep this because maybe it is more theoretical, but really in a customer's angle, we have seen all this. What is when we go for proposals and sales pitches, we understand what is as is and to be, and where are the pain points, what wakes them at 2 o'clock in the morning. It could be a chief marketing officer or chief procurement officer, right? That something there in their mind, it wakes them up, or a chief technology or business also, business heads, right? So there is a trough, there is a valley goes through this. So it just gives a representative. So very quickly, what are the forces? Obvious reason there are globalization, of course, last 40 years now. Now globalization has got a different meaning. There's no boundaries, and with internet and digital world, it's shrunk, right? The word globalization has gone different tangent. And how do we come back strongly? Resiliency, we show them. And the technology changes every 18 months now you're seeing. And circular economy is all about how do we look at renting rather than buying, everything. Can we use it? And then, if it's not required, why do we invest so much? Right. Today, I've seen a lot of articles, especially if you're a MBA finance, look at how CapEx and OpEx in during this change time, how it's going to help and how business models have evolved and laws, especially in healthcare, laws and regulatory, and even anything. It could be information, or it could be any like GDPR. We have global data protection. A lot of things are driving. So some of the targets for organization change, right? If we have to develop a new vision, mission. In fact, a lot of startup companies now engaging change catalysts, change agents, right? That they were not had in their agenda. It all fine. They had a product, they could product or services, but they're not thought about, bringing this change aspects. Now they're bringing a lot of change leaders. I've seen a lot of startup companies are engaging at least in the initial developing vision, mission statements for customers or themselves as well, right? How do we look at and people skilling is a big thing, upskilling and reskilling. I will touch upon that. And technology, of course, legacy, anything which is 15-year-old. I mean, if you see product companies, they even switch off. They say this version is not even relevant anymore. So legacy modernization is become a big thing as part of the change. And okay, so I will do some interaction, but just let me cover some speed, and then we will logically stop, and I will take some interaction also. So this is a classic. I think you all must have been having in our case studies how ITC looked at internal and external forces, right? How they diversified, how they started looking at wellness from a smoking to a wellness today. Now, if I can get someone like an ITC, is there any other company? Can you please share with us to our group today? I'm sure you would have done, you've been involved in this, you have been working before, or you know somebody who has done all this. Can someone unmute or chat, please, just to get the interaction? Any other companies you can talk about? Hello?
Sir,
Outside of IT,
HUL.
yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Hindustan Unilever Limited, sir.
Yeah, fantastic. Very good. Hindustan Unilever. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Anybody else?
Mahindra's.
Yeah, Mahindra's. Amazing stuff. Today, you see, they are into so much diversified. They are into everything, every products. And I will talk about our own.
Tata is also biggest giant from salt to software. Tata.
And
Yes, yes,
Wipro too, sir. Wipro.
yes, yes. Our own
Wipro
company.
itself, yes.
Yes,
Wipro
sir. I will
itself.
talk about. Fantastic. I will talk about that as well. So, Salt to you said, sir, Tata is what end to end. If you see Salt to software, right?
To software, yes.
Yeah, very
Tata
good.
is having
So
different verticals,
amazing, right?
different
Yeah.
SBUs.
Yes,
It
fantastic.
is a
So I
giant
think you
trade,
have seen Raj.
operating on.
Yes, sir.
Pardon, sir? Pardon, sir?
No, I was just asking. Yeah, continue. You were saying something.
Tata is, I think, one of the most ethical and social organization which is working in India. It's like Wipro. Ajim Premji have their own value system. Their lifestyle is means remarkable and exemplary for many people. Like I've
Yes,
gone through the story, like when their son came back in India after having a higher education, they don't get absorbed directly in the company. So these are the things. These are the one of the most you can say great philanthropists of India, who's having a great charity for the this social sector. So these are the organizations which have diversified business. They are generating happy of means profit despite of that, also following some value system also.
very good. I think you covered beautifully. You gave a very good all-round perspective, the genesis of each company, the leadership, and how they have diversified into all this. I'm just touching base little on external forces. Like I said, there are other aspects as well, government and global competition. And today, changing customer needs. Today, the whole market is they're looking at consumerism between the age of 18 to 45. I don't know whether below 18 or 45 or irrelevant, I'm not sure, but entire market today, because they comprise almost 70-75% of our population, right? So if you
A
see
new
the
class of customer has been also emerged.
yes, sir.
New class of customer is also emerged. That is things. Double income, no
Yes,
kids also. Like in urbanites, the class of customer is like that, who's having disposable income to spend on different hats. So there's a shift. A digitalization has also paved the path. It portrayed the path for this particular thing also. The digitalization has given the impetus for the development. Like marketing organization have to just think about the change their strategy to tap the customer.
exactly. Amazing. So much examples we can give. Yuppies, like you said, urban, and even I mean, not to leave behind anybody. Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities. Everybody is in terms of their whole habits and the way they have changed. And now companies, people have stopped making some few products. For example, in America, they don't sell cereal anymore. It seems people don't want to go and wash the bowl and bring milk and warm the milk, and instead they're having cereal bars. People never used to go for, I mean, they used to go for movies. Now you see the OTT over the top. They could watch movies, maybe a release after 3 weeks, it'll be there. So every aspect, every sector that we are looking at changes, and some of the internal aspects as well, right? Profitable issues when people do strategy planning. Of course, at least in IT, we do every quarter, right? For us, just about we sneeze, one quarter is done. Another sneeze with 2 quarters, another sneeze, you have a financial year. By March 31st, we'll also planning for next year, 22-23, right? So much of emphasis and how we are looking at inwards, right? Expectation, especially stakeholders are investors today and other aspects. So I'm just giving you a few examples, variance also. I think some of you already touched, and types of change out of control. Sometimes pandemic, natural disasters bring a lot of changes as well. Sometimes government change. And then how do we react to change? Technology, especially now you see our simple mobile phone. I think every 18 months, even our grandparents wants a better phone, right? They want nice access. They want to watch movies, larger fonts. So much of demand. And today we are looking at collaboration tools because we reacted because we had all had to be connected. There are about 14 different collaborative tools like Teams, Zoom, and Google Meet. And Apple is continuously changing to the product design to suit the customers, right? And sometimes there is also statutory government thing, anticipatory. So now little bit on Wipro, we now we have Wipro Limited and Wipro Enterprises. Wipro Limited, for those who know, is a purely IT company, services, product and services, and technology innovation. Whereas Wipro Enterprises, we have Wipro Consumer Care, we have Wipro Engineering. We do a lot of work for aerospace industry, and or in fact, ironically, on a cheeky side, all our furnitures used by Tatas and Infosys are all Wipro furnitures. So that is a little bit of diversification. Okay, and so the merger HP, I'm sure all this you have done in your case studies. You're very well aware, but I thought I'll just put it across and plan changes, especially with hygiene. Very ironic that though these slides were made few years back with Corona, if you see anybody, even a chemical manufacturer, has changed the formula composition to make sanitizers, right? Because that is the need now. And these are some of the things, especially in learning and development, Byju's of the world, they all have changed. And some incremental continuous improvement, Six Sigma, Kaizen, Lean, all is bringing a lot of things. And culture, of course, very, very important as part of what drives habits, right? Being respectful, responsive, trustworthy, communicating, and collaboration, stewardship, all that's part of that habits which forms culture. And then you have operational changes, total quality, supply chain, B2B, B2C, and direct to customers. So this is some of the things gives a perspective of different types of changes. So I'll just move ahead in the interest of time. And I'm sure you have done a little bit on this, subjects, but I thought I'll place it by you in some of the things, fundamental change and total change, new leadership takeover, transformational change. So a lot of companies are looking at decentralization. How do we stay agile? And automation is playing a key role. Okay, recreation. So just the definitions and types I'm just putting on you. But very important is what's one of the most fewer things. What drives the organization culture is, like, I think we already voiced out companies like Tata and Wipro, the ethical, right? I'm sure that ethical presence. There are actually even awards given by Ethisphere community to these companies, right? How diversity of employees are also making a important change in terms of culture. And the other thing is, if you're not going to change, this is what will happen, right? We become outdated, completely vanish. And can I get few examples? I'm very, very standard. I think we all know many we would have discussed with our students and faculties and business and corporate world, or even from the schooling, we talk about this. Any response from your side? Any companies you can give? It could be as later or could be for last 20 years back, 2-3 decades back. Can I hear from anybody?
The
Yes, sir.
very imperial Bajaj Cub Electronic,
Yeah.
ones which ruled the market for decades,
Yes.
is now extinct and doesn't ply on the roads.
Ah, yeah. Yeah. Good.
The
Good example.
another classic example is the Premier Padmini car, the ambassador's cars.
Yes. Yes.
No, in the interest of environmental concern
Hmm.
and not so advanced technology, I think
Yes.
they took a bigger swipe and are away from the markets.
Yes.
These
So
are some of the examples.
yeah, the automobile industry itself has done a lot of rejigging, right? Right from two-wheeler, four-wheeler, the trucking industry, they have gone through and just spilling to trains and rail businesses. Yes, sir. Very good examples. Anybody else from
Sir,
other parties?
Nivaran 19 cough syrup.
Which ones, madam? Sorry.
Sir, Nivaran 19 cough syrup.
Oh, that's a household, is it, for cough?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Uh-huh.
And one more thing is Gopal tooth powder.
Yeah.
And
Gopal. Yeah. I remember that. I have used also. So that is really, they're taken from the Ayurvedic thing, and it was supposed to be brushing using our. I don't think we even used our toothbrushes. We used our hands, I think, those days.
I think from digital uh, watches replace the mechanical
Yes,
watches. Also, the Kodak films,
fantastic.
which are no more there.
I think you got it right. So everybody, all of you. So Kodak, I think is classical example. In fact, they were the first one to even try it out digitally.
One of the sir, HMT is also a promising example. One time a timekeeper of India. Now it is
Yes, sir.
nowhere in picture. HMT.
Yes, sir. Now they are just on the peripheral. That's all. They're, in fact, they do some assembly. That's all. Not even manufacture anything. They're almost in extinct. In fact, in Bangalore, if you see, some of them are the campuses even let down to let it to aerospace, ISRO or something. They're saying the whole colony and the factory. Yeah. So Nokia again looks like they might come back. I don't know, but that is one. Okay. So just to yes,
Excuse
ma'am.
me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just want to throw some light on social media also.
Yes.
Before entering of Facebook, Twitter, or any other social platforms, Orkut was there.
Yeah. Orkut. Yes, I remember that. Yes.
It's totally, I mean, it's we cannot just think about it now. I mean, it's not
Yes.
there.
Even
It's
for that matter,
just
Hotmail also. No? Yeah.
yeah,
Hotmail as well, right?
yeah, Hotmail also.
Hmm.
I mean, 15 years back, people they used to, I mean, register their emails through Hotmails. But right now, that is not the trend.
Today is instant messenger world, with
Yeah.
tweeters and
And all things are, they have old.
Pager was there. Pager was there. Pager has been replaced. Nokia has gone. So there are number of example are there.
yes,
But
sir.
some
Yeah.
organization is still, sir. One question from my side.
Yes, sir.
Some organization is still working on the same tradition, same pattern like Parle-G. They haven't changed their taste, flavor, packaging, each and everything. So they are continued with the stability strategy. Means they are not ready to change because it is well accepted in glucose segment. It is they are blast. They're having a good chunk in a pie. So I think the particular company which is not going to change. So some example you can say exception are there which haven't changed themselves.
Yeah, you're right. There are certain, see, maybe they have their own market also. Some of them, so especially if you go to European companies, and even it could be food, jams, or it could be any edible items, or even antique. People have got their own set of requirements, consumptions. They want to retain that, and they may have maybe for by design also. For example, there are some glass companies, I don't even know, they say that it's more than 400-year old, right? So people are doing their own thing, but probably they might also have looked it into change. For example, even Disneys of the world, they have also changed a lot. Disney was traditionally having all simply roller coasters, but today if you go to Disney, they're talking about 7D, and probably India also we might get some Disney somewhere. I'm not sure in Mumbai or something they're planning, but so many companies have their own identity, but in the end, it's all about what customers are driving the entire thing, I would say. Okay, so now I'm bringing the core aspect next half an hour on this, little bit on what are the things it takes, right? We will see examples how organization, enterprises, people, process, technology, how do we look into each of this? So just to give a little bit of statistics, only 40% of the frontline managers understand why organization change is happening. See, because most of the time, because lack of communication, lack of vision, leadership. People don't know. Even if you see in the last mile or middle management, they don't even know. Oh, they don't even know that that the logo has been changed. They don't even know that branding has changed. Sometimes they'll be shocked to hear from newspapers or some friends of them would have told them, Boss, your company has changed. You know they have acquired, right? We have seen very familiar. 70% of change programs fail due to employee resistance. So again, change brings fear, right? That is another aspect. And I'll show you some of the frameworks how we will go through that thing, fear, how we can give interventions and other stuff. 29% of employees believe that poor internal communication in the reasons is the reason projects fail. It could be anything, project, IT change, or process change because of communication. And 62% of employees do not like leaving their comfort zone. All of us, I mean, it's a human thing. For example, as a family, they have kids, they have go to the same school, and then suddenly they big shift to go to another country, another state, large country like us. So that, really sometimes, even in our own faculty, right? We all been in 646 universities in this country. Sometimes we get attached to one particular thing, one particular zone. That also will have an effect on this. What are the questions related to change? This is very important before we go deep dive. And these are some of the questions, a consulting manager will ask, a change consultant will ask, or we will ask ourselves. For example, do you have the right skills and capabilities? I mean, today talent, I'll be honest in saying 35% attrition in our company. I'm today morning I had an immigration discussion. Can we now look at rotation, send people from here if the doors are open, countries accept with travel and all that. We are looking at upskilling, bringing women back to work, diversity. Somebody had gone to maternity. Can we even sponsor their certification and bring them back to work? There are so many things we are now looking at it. And how do we retain talent, right? Of course, I'm not blaming any generation here because people are now hopping and skipping, for any monetary value. But most of the time we convince them, right? Look, it is the short-term thing that you're going, but long-term, look at, the things company gives you. It's a win-win for both. So we are able to manage, but again, there is a big issue there. And the consultants ask questions like, what is the current change capability? When was the last change? Like you said, parlay, they are not going to change. That's it. Whether they will have, maybe they'll have a newer brand, newer things, but now in some companies, they are looking at, maybe they would have changed 10 years back. Are they having another new change management? So some of the questions we need to ask, and what are the lessons learned? So from the organization perspective, again, a lot of barriers are there in terms of competition, decision making, the speed we make decisions, right? With hamper. I mean, it's a very sensitive thing. Sometimes we make decisions without, then that is also another disaster. Sometimes we take too long to make change. Even to make decision, we take concurrences with metrics model, dotted line, thick lines, reporting, everybody's viewpoint. By the time we're done, it's too late for change. So how do we look at customer emotions, right? From delight now, probably everybody's in this zone with anxiety, skepticism, so these are some of the barriers. We have to look at each of this organization canvas for the change management. Look at everything in totality, right? Who are the partners, stakeholders? What is our value proposition? Where is our revenue coming? What are the channels? Where is the customers? And then how do we live with agility, simplicity, and excellence? See, these are all very good motherhood statements, to put in a nice brochure. But are we living with the speed, right? If I have to make decision, can we have SLAs, key performance indicators, to approve, right? We all had tough times, right? I'll be honest, if I had to go, unless if you don't have relationship, it sits in somebody's email box or workflow forever, right? So some of the organization, we'll see how they have changed, especially during this time as well, right? Fast food, and just laid out because we have got plenty of case studies, we have a shortage of time to cover in 2 hours, but We can always do another after this, but this is some of the examples how a large retail, they will launch curbside, because in US people drive and then they pick up things, so they don't even want to touch anything, no touch economy, right? And then a big large bank, they have to make arrangements within 72 hours, they have to roll it off, right? And in a Middle East company where they have to stagnant business, probably a leisure movie theater to something else, right, to critical one. So overnight you see when push comes to shove, they say, right, we could do it. It's that is where your agile decision making and the input from employees, everybody helps. And you have fast food chain, again one of the examples. So other aspect what has changed also on the humanitarian, it's very important that we also see the humanitarian, how today we talk about social responsibility, sustainability, but today I'm happy to say everybody, Tata's, Wipros, they all pitched in. Wipro cooked 40,000 meals every day for 2.5 months. We used 2 canteens. Likewise, so many examples. Even Tata started from day one, sending foods to food and everything available to hospitals, from the kitchen. They were running restaurants and all that. So that is good part, that organizations are now changing. They're looking at from social enterprises. That is a big transformation. Last 10 years we are seeing this. Any other example here you can give from what you have? I'm sure your own institutions have done, provided vaccines and all the things you would have done. Each of institutions you are presently working. I'm sure governments, so private, community, Rotary, Lions Club. So everybody pitched in here. So now a little bit on the technology also. I'll come back, but I will talk about very quickly in few minutes on how technology has helped in customer experience, remote working, cloud business, and later in few slides from here. So the whole is very relevant. The entire change subject now. The reason is the VUCA world, right? Vulnerability, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. That's why the whole change management has got a trust. It is looking at who we are, how we operate, how we grow, right? What is the purpose? It is a purpose-driven organization, right? We are looking at some of the structures in place. And this is a slide from Gartner, how they're looking at reinventing humans. First of all, being human is very important rather than human beings, right? How do we provide flexible work experiences? And then how do we looking at talent, digital, so reforming the culture, all this helping the organizations to change is what we are looking at. So we are looking at, just to show you how modes of work, right? Suddenly we changed overnight. I still remember March or something, I forget the date. We all suddenly had to go back, and then we started looking at different ways of looking at how do we work alone, apart, now hybrid, remote, and all that, right? So coming back, touching basing on the agility, how do we look at structures, goals, execution, leadership, right? So how swift decisions are to be made, right? And of course, each has got its own merit, because if you have too long a thing, it has to take few, maybe months to make decisions. But can we look at decentralization, autonomy and few others, rather than having central? So these are some of the change management people are looking at, right? For example, here again, there are a few examples how agility they're looking at. Their large telco redeployed 1,000 store employees to inside sales, retrained in 3 weeks. New business models, I think we covered this, right? Shifting operations, coordinating with local officials, shift builders, switch from 3 shifts to 2 with thousands of employees. So a lot of the change process, change has happened. Okay, so of course, again, it needs trust and compassion, and so there, especially during this post-COVID, people are looking at very, very micro level on all these parameters. Okay, now we finished organization. I'll come to processes. This is a very good slide for us. Just keep this. So because you see every aspects of end-to-end businesses. For example, product life cycle, concept to market, campaign to cash, demand like this, hire to retire. It could be order to cash, record to report. These are the processes. On the right side, you see functions, finance, HR. Every bit of thing needs tweaking, right? Or change processes. Uh, like I said, bottom line is how do we look at getting the right product, right quantity, location. See, if you see Amazon's, they've been now almost 5 to 6 years now in India. How quickly they're able to, I mean, amazed the way they sell, they even sell funeral products, everything. And now they're looking at guaranteed deliver, drone-based delivery, and I'm sure Government of India is going to give permission to have drones very soon. So you will see minimum, I don't know, guaranteed half an hour delivery or whatever it is, right? So everything will be going to be in the change process. So this is my own McKinsey project which I was doing, and we are looking at entire service delivery, right? Broad themes we call next gen delivery. What customers want, what teams want, and what the company wants. What do we want in each account, right? So we rolled out successfully with the help of McKinsey. So, amazing story. Like I said, it even started having workshops, to understand what is change. See, we could all be proud. We have 25, 30 years in the resume, but that doesn't mean that anything if you're not willing to change, right? So we went through our leadership training, managing change inwards, leading others external. We had a lot of offsite experiences, experiential learning to embark on this journey. At the end of the day, these are some of the themes we used, looked at process redesign, we looked at automation and tools, and adoption and change. Entire thing was hanging. It's like a, kite, you need a thread, right? As simple as that. It cannot fly on its own. Yeah, it can fly, but you need the thread to streamline, right? To navigate. So change is the major stuff. So it is, sorry, coming back, it's about a new service delivery. Again, it's about people, culture, process, and how do we go to market. So these are some of the classic case study we brought in terms of process and looking at. So I'm just giving you some of the transformation areas where change takes place. Everybody looks at this bottom line, right? What are the 3, 4 parameters? If it's HR, they look at employees being productive. If it could be customer being improve on customer satisfaction. So these are some of the, I would say, key areas in transformation or change transformation. And then you see so many companies examples. I think we went through that Olas and Ubers of the world, Oyos in India, and then you had Airbnb. I'm sure we all have, gotten a little bit insight into this and how we looked at the music and video, Netflix. And there are some companies which lost out, like Blockbuster they were selling videos, old format DVDs, but they never embarked on digital, so they were out. And so many things. So now I covered on organization, I covered on process. Now the very most important is people and culture. So please stay back, and because we also have a quiz, wonderful quiz, and we are going to have the quiz as well. So most important aspect here are about people, right? The energy, ingenuity, care, dedication. That is the core thing which forms, right? I'm sure you would have seen our own parents or my extended family, somebody working in Tata's for 35 years, 40 years, or in Wipro. I finished 15 years. I have so many senior people have been there, done their job, and they left 25, 30, 35 years, right? So it's so important for us to be that organization should also treat that people are the most valuable resource, right? That depends on what sort of culture. And today, of course, if you really look at culture, multicultural generation. If you see multi-generation, in at least in US and other part of the world, people are 80 years and people who are born in 2001, which is 20 years. There are so many 5, 6 generations and each of bring their own culture, right? There's also a culture gap between our own siblings. If I'm 5, 6 year elder, my brothers, sisters will have a different culture in their own DNA, right? So how do we look at styles? How do we look at teams working, right? So coming back, when any change management or anything will have this adverse effect, because they will keep asking, because a lot of companies, if you see, when they started outsourcing to India and near site, near shore, offshore locations, especially other part of the world, they were very, very reluctant that to bring that, get the business out. There were so many reasons, whether job security and, what will they do after somebody who's been doing for 40, 30 years, what is there going to be? Right. So looking at the image, the people relationship, the continuity. So these are some of the issues. And, in some countries, at least there is a transition. At least in some companies, we do rebadging. Means HR will take some core employees. They'll be brought into our roles. We will continue. In some countries, you cannot just hire and fire. There's a regulatory, especially in Germany, right? So you have to protect jobs and locals. So that is a human thing, right? So that is first thing. And these are some of the culture, any changes also happens, right? So if these are some of the questions they have asked, if I have to move to India now, do I have to be also part of, do I have to travel to India or any other location? Could be Mexico or Brazil or Latam countries or European countries. What will happen onto my salary? If my role changes, will they train me, right? What's happening where? So these are some of the concerns, reactions to impending change. And this is quite normal. It is not that, somebody asking difficult questions. We will also ask the same question, right? Okay, so reactions to changes, people who resist change, either we say no flight or, fight or flight, or similar to other, either we flee away from change, ignore, or embrace is another one. How do we adopt is what we are looking at. Okay, so I think this emotional cycle, I'm just now drilling into a little bit on individuals now. So we all gone through this, right? First, we deny that there's going to be change. Anybody you ask today, Air India employee, although whatever said and done, they had their own brand identity. They were doing well, flags were flying high. I think they at some stage 40 countries they were flying through alliances and other stuff. But if you look at their dipstick, whether temperature check of each of the employees, they will definitely deny, then there will be resistance and then they will explode and then they'll say, yes, time has come, we will commit. And I'm sure, the staff won't be sacked. Most of them will be retrained by Tata's with the new set of technologies, or it could be other way also that Air India had better technology and they will come with the reverse training Tata employees. Okay, so reaction to changes. What is the reaction? Ignores the necessity. Means if you just ignore thinking that it won't affect me, I don't care. Finally, we'll get run over. Accept the status necessity, but as fear of leaving the status quo. That means you are still living in the past, right? Accepts the necessity and pretends to change. So that is another result. It's deceiving the self. Okay, so these are some of the reactions and it's quite human, right? All this. And then how do we accept, analyze, and how do we survive and how do we open the door for others? So like I said, it's an individual level, why, what and why, and then the desire and how. So this is the skill sets, right? And so this is where we also, even whether you are IT, whether you are faculty, we are all going through this same storm, right? With new NEP, we have to talk about that. How do we change the syllabus? How do you change the curriculum? How do we look at giving multifaceted disciplines to students, right? They have choice now. How do we give world-class that benchmark sort of education. And then what and why, and these are some of the questions. And now last few things on technology. So organization, process, people and culture, and technology. So what has happened, the entire chain transformation or digital transformation is because of, I should admit, or we all admit, COVID has really accelerated, right, transformed. And my only fear is if we have done all this next 2 to 3 years, and what else we'll do. I don't know whether we'll have next generation something else, but that's at least going in the right track, right pace. A lot of things with the industry 4.0, and very far, we are not very far with 5.0 with human machines interface. And at this level, how we are looking at automation, right? Already 33% of the projects we have AI or bots or robotic process automation in our projects. I'm sure you have all heard about DevOps, automated testing, and like for example, Amazon. Every hour they do 14 releases because of different countries, category, pricing, seasonal elements. Amazing. If some projects when we were growing up, it took many years to even complete one large set of program or project. But today, so much, it's helping us. I'm sure I'm just giving a flavor what in the technology side, some changes, obvious ones, analytics. And already I've seen, especially large companies using artificial intelligence, HR analytics, and you have superset when we go for campuses, hiring. Amazing, so this one now it's cut down travel, anxiety of students coming to campuses, at least they can take from their own comfort zone. So some of the changes have happened from technology, and during and post COVID, these are some of the things. So cloud, for those, for example, big storage in a virtual environment like our Gmail, and we have large hyperscalers like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, even IBM, SAP also provide a lot of cloud capabilities and analytics automation. So these are IDC gives IDC Gartners of the world keep giving us this. So last, so far so good, ma'am. I have another few more minutes. This is now all is done. Now I'm looking at a change management approach in any
Yes.
consulting, any large organization. How are we now looking at? This is the methodology. This is like how we do it. Okay. So these are some of the things, again, coming back. Any change is very difficult. I think we know that. Now, before that, we will ask these questions. What are the reasons? Could be many things, right? Executive sponsorship is the main thing. Somebody, it is not just somebody who pays money, right? People are confused also. We need somebody who owns the entire change and make sure it happens. It could be anything. It could be government programs. It could be your own college institution. Somebody, any department could nominate somebody. Doesn't have to be that person is a real owner or a investor or anything. It could be some nominated, but that person has to take complete not only ownership, but also provide sponsorship as well. Understand, and then what sort of time scale we are looking at, right? Sometimes it needs budget because we need to train, retrain, buy new gadgets, new appliances, probably shift to another country, or look at payrolls, compensation, so much stuff. There is a budget involved. It is not that I just paint and then change will happen. Definitely budget is another big aspect, but it is about you are investing now. In the end game, what is the ROI? See, finally, it should have a element of some levers, right? Profit and decrease customer trouble or increase customer satisfaction. But we have to justify. So MBA finance students, especially, they'll get asked to do all this in large consulting, Deloitte and KPMG. There was another college, two girls. She has done only English, okay, English honors, but she got into HR transformation, and she shared the JD, and I saw it's all about change consulting, but it requires very good communication skills. Probably I'm visualizing this girl will go and do big pitches to the CXO community, write business plans, right? She may not understand technology, but maybe over the years she will. So these are some of the opportunities in big change consulting firms, right? Poor planning combined with insufficient. So these are some of the reasons we'll say. So how do we implement? All said and done, we will either come top down or bottom up. And most important is we have to get change agents. We call them change champions, change catalysts, change leaders, right? How do we engage them? Right, day one they have to be involved. There'll be a big pool of team, right? How do we look at every aspects, processes, strategy, and then how do we look at engaging the stakeholders? How do we use technology? That is also another big aspect. And how do we also look at the cultural aspects? Okay, so there are something like I said, listening, not just telling, and feeding back to the program. So very important aspect is to listen. Listen to the last person who's who's a foreman or somebody who's driving the machines, right? Hands-on work, not just tell them what to do, and motivating and explaining why the change is very important, right? What is that we all gain? Right, that is where a lot of things, that orientation, socializing itself takes time, months and months in some companies, large organization, providing the employee with the skills and tools, right, and pushing the organization in a controlled manner, step by step. We cannot achieve everything. Oh, I changed today, or from next week everything will change. No, there are huge some organizations like Saudi Aramco or British Petroleum. They are in 195 countries. How they can change in one? British Petroleum, they have about 35,000 IT applications. If they all have to change, standardize, modernize, it's not going to happen overnight, right? It has to be done step by step. So how do we make it sustainable? So this is the framework. I'm sure every lot of you go on the internet, you will find plenty of change management. It's all about exploring, realizing from current state to future state. What do you see from left to right? We are looking at every aspects. How do we get leadership, stakeholders? So this is a standard and it is available. It is, many, they have their own change, all the companies. And then you usually bring experts also in this region, at least to help initial stage. And then business as usual, we can take it, you can have train the trainer or consulting, all that we can take help, not a problem. So somewhere they have done similar industries, people choose the change agents, or it could be even competition, not that they poach anything or intellectual property, they steal data or anything, but at least in a different sense. Of course, they will have intellectual property, and then they will write all the agreements they won't share, but at least they will know in certain areas. In a typical hospitality industry, what are the major changes? People will know, and they quickly change and adopt. People change, again, same thing, communication. And last critical few 1 or 2 slides, we are now looking at what are the critical success factors. It is not about being everybody talking about change. It's about proper change methodology, framework, communication, practical deployment. It has to be. Otherwise, if it's just theory, hairy fairy, or a PPT, it's going to be there in PPT forever, right? And it is not that I've changed, now I've just keep quiet. We have to look into whether can we go and modify, continuously improve, and a lot of governance is required, change governance. That's where your executive sponsorship, business heads, a few core members be part of the entire change, and that has to be rigorously, otherwise this change will not be taking effect. Okay, so just on the self-study, you can recommend for your students, internship projects. There are some uh, like edX, platform, Coursera. There's plenty of Udacity management. You have Harvard. So I refer to Harvard, McKinsey articles. Plenty are there. They're all free membership, download articles. And then you also have deep learning, a little bit more on technology. NPTL is another big government site. Amazing stuff you can find. Okay, so all that is fine. Are we prepared for the next new normal is what? Keeping change in mind. So I will stop with this. Firstly, I'll take some questions, and then while we are doing this, I'll also pull up the quiz. Is that okay? Any questions, ma'am? Any questions? Anybody?
Participants, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
am I
Yes, ma'am.
audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I have
Very.
one question. I mean, your this slide ended with the question: Are we prepared for the next new normal?
Yes.
I mean, uh, like when COVID-19 pandemic emerged, we were not knowing actually what type of the virus it is and all. Correct?
Yes.
It's still being studied, and every day we come out with new information about the nature of the virus. And so actually we may prepare us for the different things, but we don't know actually what is going to come next.
Yeah. Absolutely right. See, we cannot solve everything today's the way it is going to happen. At least what has brought us is certain awareness. I think, like we said, the change has already happened. People, if you see the biologists or the pharmacists, the people who are making vaccines, now they're really hats off to them. I'm saying we should never forget them for what they have given done. Usually the medicines takes almost 6 to 7 years, in some cases 10 to 14 years. I know about polio, how it took so many years to eradicate, right? And in one or two countries, I think almost it takes so much, but with all the thing greatness, they've really put effort last 7 to 8 months, the amazing stuff, right? I'm sure they are working tirelessly to save humankind. I mean, this is the condition last year, whether our company lost 60 people, 60 employees, and some of our employees lost their extended family members. Likewise, many companies lost many. I'm sure we all know that. But just at least, the awareness now, the government, if you look, they start looking at, okay, there's a need for hospitals, revival of a few things, services. So community partnership, then, like I said, organization becoming social enterprises. I mean, you see how much of people came back and did a lot of good work and all that. So I think it is a beginning. I don't know whether it will solve all the things, uh, but it may not be this one. We hope that we'll always look at the positive side of life. This is my humble thing, but in terms of business, we have learned, for example, just in time, we used to have inventory. Now that whole theory will perish. Now, for example, you look at that two factories in Taiwan got fired, and I've ordered Apple Mac for my teammates. It has not arrived. It's taking, I don't know whether that Apple is manufactured elsewhere or chip or somebody else is taken my quota of things which I ordered. But it's going to be like this, any aspect, there could be many crises, many, hopefully we always want to be the best, look at the best things, but how prepared are we and how quickly we can change is what. And that's to some extent, education fraternity, hats off to them again. They were able to adopt. I mean, initial days was painful, teachers not having even smartphones. Of course, we all boast India's got 1 billion smartphones, but how many can afford, right? We saw that pain. First 3 months, people having extended families in a small room were teaching. We went through that, but quickly we adopted. Of course, there are 30% people still got affected with not much studies, but so we have to learn to adopt the change.
Thank you, sir.
So I'm going to pull up the question and then we'll continue with this one. So I'm just going to share. Can you see this? Are you able to see, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So people can either chat, put it in the chat. Chat is enabled, right, ma'am?
Sir, actually, chat is not there, sir.
Okay, then they can unmute, right?
Yes, yes, they can unmute.
Ma'am, you want to take the questions or I can ask? Whatever. Shall I walk it
So
through?
whatever you say, sir.
Okay, so I will walk it through, not a problem. So the first question, HR processes are aligned to drive new behaviors in support of the business vision. HR processes are aligned to drive new behaviors in support of the business vision. One is change architecture, performance management, communication, leadership. Which is the right answer? For example,
It's the leadership capacity.
okay, so we will park this response because I'm going to show the answers in the end, but I will take as somebody has responded. I will also note it down. And anybody else has got answer, please.
Sir, performance management.
Okay, so some of us done talked about performance management. Anybody else?
Sir, performance management, sir.
Okay. Okay, so we'll all park this, then we'll come back. I wish I could have done Kaun Banega Crorepati type of quiz, but lack of time, sorry. I came up with a simple word, or I could have given you Google form also. But anyway, is dash is held by those who can say yes or no to a change. That is authority, power, influence. That is authority.
It's an influencer.
Sir, power.
Okay. Okay. Power
It's
is held by.
influence.
It's
Sir,
authority, sir.
influence. Influence.
Authority.
It is influence because most of the time the trade unions came in India. Just see the scenario of when computerization has been started. So trade unions, they have great influence to just resist the change. So influence, I think, from my point of view, the right answer.
Okay. Good point. And anybody else?
So authority.
Sir, authority, sir.
Sir, influence.
If authority is not there, how he will manage to say yes or no?
Okay. So we will come back and good. I'll park this answer now. These are individuals or groups who are asked to change something, knowledge, skills, or behavior as a result of the change. Change sponsor, change agents, change target. Who are the
Change agents. B.
Change agent.
3B.
So 4 activities contributing to effective change management, and in this case we are removing the wrong ones or wrong answer, wrong option. First is motivating change, managing the transition, overcoming resistance to change, sustaining momentum. Which activity is not
It's a
relevant?
sustaining momentum. Sustaining momentum.
Sustaining momentum.
Okay, anybody else?
Sustaining on income.
So you think that is not contributing to effective change management, right? That is what your response is. Okay, we'll part that. We'll come back. So senior managers and directors responsible for managing organization change usually fear change more than their staff. True or false?
It's true. It's a true.
True, sir.
Okay.
True.
Participation, involvement, and open early communication are key factors in effective change management.
True.
It's a true.
Yes, sir. True.
It's a true, sir.
Okay.
True, sir.
Okay, great. 7. A change agent is the individual who supports change, opposes change,
Initiates change.
Initiates.
Sir, the
Initiate,
answer is
initiate
initiate
change.
change.
Helps in implement change. Helps in implement change. That's G.
No, sir, it
7.
will be supports it.
Agent helps. Agent helps because he's out. He may be inside or outside, so he's helping agent.
Okay, good. We will see. Definitely, all of given responses. We'll come back and see that. Transformational change is often carried out by middle managers, top down, bottom up, after extensive consultation. Again, it's all about culture, process, how we look at entire transformation.
Sir, top down.
Sir, top down, sir. Top down, sir.
After extensive consultation.
Okay. Okay. So number 9, which of the following is not a driver of change? Increasing competition, merger and acquisition, satisfaction with the current situation, new or amended.
9. C answer is correct, sir. C, satisfaction with the current situation.
Okay. So this is not a driver of change, you are saying. Yeah.
It's
Yes, sir.
inappropriate.
Somebody was just happily going with current one. They're not. Okay, good. So what is the biggest barrier to change? Insufficient skills, inappropriate culture, incomplete follow-up, employee resistance.
It's an inappropriate culture. Inappropriate
Inappropriate
culture.
culture.
Okay. So this completes 10
Inappropriate.
questions. Okay, now I'm going to pull the answers.
नहीं लिए. सोचा है.
Is my thing visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay. So HR processes are aligned to drive behavior support of performance management. Yes. You already most of you has given that response. So authority is held by those who can say yes or no to a change. And change target here. We are looking at individuals or who are asked to change something as a result of change. Core activities is overcoming resistance to change. Wrong one. See, we are all trying to motivate, manage, and then sustain momentum, but overcoming resistance to changes. Senior managers, I think you gave the right answers for all of this, most of them. True. Change agent helps implement. Yes, sir. I think you are right. You spoke about that, about both internal and external. And in fact, if you see many organizations, just on the lighter side, they'll be paid more. You know, they'll be, the architect and project manager will be asking, why am my salary is less? But the change agent is the one who is going to give that so much of traction. So in big consulting firms, they also charge money, but also they get paid. Transformational change is often carried out top down. I think everybody answered. And I think you answered this also. Satisfied with current situation. And the last one is employee resistance. Okay. So any questions, anything, your viewpoint, if I missed out anything? It's a very vast, topic. Change could be. But it's important to, my only request from all of you faculty, take it to the next level to the students, give that a little bit of, because see, they might be adaptable to change. We can never underestimate the millennials also. One thing we have also seen, of course, there always, we can have point of view, but there are certain things they can adapt well. But at least the awareness of the entire change management should be given to them. That's my view. Okay, ma'am, anything else?
Sir, we will take the questions.
Sure.
Participants, if you have any questions, you can ask to the resource person. Sir, I think they don't have any questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you very much, sir,
Thank you,
for
ma'am.
spending your valuable time with us. And it was very informative. Like most of the people, they always resist change, but change is something which is very important now for our self development as well as for the organizational growth. So thank you very much, sir. And tomorrow we are going to start with the other session, that is on personality and values, and the resource person will be Dr. Shilata Rao, madam. Yeah, that is for all from my side, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, and see
Thank you,
you
sir.
Friday again.
Yes, sir. Sure, sure. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Participants, I have shared one link in the WhatsApp group. So kindly fill that Google form. Tomorrow sharp at 9 o'clock.